Hello, welcome to White Threads FlossTube number 86. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to have you with me. Today I want to tell you about a couple of mistakes that have been found either by me or other people in Frisian whitework. I would always prefer that there weren't mistakes, but every time I send a book off to the printer, I know there will be. Despite my best efforts, there are always things that creep through. So there are three that I have found, or others have found so far, and rather than me list them all here, which means you'll then have to write them down, I have done a blog post, which I'll put the link to, so that you can go directly to that and see them there. And when I have errors in the book, I post my errata notices on my blog, and they're all tagged with the tag errata notices. So you can just go to that tag and you can check for all of them. So that's the easiest way to find that you have everything up to date and correct. So I'll put the link to that so you can find it and go and check them out and make some notes in your book if you wish. The other thing I want to talk to you about today was someone recently said on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in that she didn't understand how Frisian whitework was whitework when so much of what she was seeing was colour, which is a really good point. And so I thought it'd be great for me to explain to you why it's whitework. So I think most of what people are working on at the moment are either one of these two pieces from the book. And this one obviously is all in colour, and this one is partially in colour. So when you see them, you think, well, how is that whitework? Because that's obviously quite a bit of colour. So the answer to that is, well, when they were working them on samplers, as was often the case, it was young girls that were working the samplers. And to make it more interesting for the young girls, they were given coloured threads to use, or the girls were choosing to use coloured threads. And that was to make it more interesting than just stitching white on white. So the idea of a sampler, let's go back to the very basics here, is that it's a sampling of stitches or alphabets or motifs. So on a cross-stitch sampler, you'd have lots of different motifs sampled. You might have colours sampled as well, and often you'll have alphabets sampled. And the same is true of Frisian whitework, except that it's not done in cross-stitch, though sometimes on some of the old pieces there are some cross-stitch motifs. So this is a sampler designed based on historical ones in the Frisian whitework style. It's in my book, Frisian Whitework. And this samples different border designs. And each of these could have been used on a collar. So if we take that there and we could put it up to here, and it would be used as a collar. But when they were used on collars or on sheets, they were only ever worked in white on white. So the style itself was white on white. It's when it was used on samplers that sometimes they used colour. So if we have a look at this sampler here, it's not all in colour, and that was quite often the way things were, that a lot of it would be done in white and just certain bits picked out in colour. And often it was the alphabets that were sampled in colour, or some of the birds like this, that sort of thing. So there might be some bits that were in colour and some bits that were in white on white. However, when worked on sheets and shirts and any of the other things other than samplers, it would only ever be worked on white. So that's why this is known as white work rather than Frisian coloured work, because traditionally when it was used on the actual things, not just the samplers, it was worked in white on white. So I hope that makes some sense to you. It is a bit of an odd thing that so much of this style of work isn't white, but in actual fact most of it is white. It's just that the two main pieces that seem to be being worked by people are these ones, which have a lot of colour on them, and I think that's what's leading people astray. If you've got further questions about that, please just ask, because as you can see, that when people ask questions, I like to answer them. So yeah, I hope that helps you. Thanks very much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Bye.